Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Good morning, Rob.
Hey. So this week I wanted to talk about being obsessed with impact and as a team leader and just as an industry professional, just take a moment to think about like how many people we impact. You know, I'm looking at you. So how many sales have you done in your career? Do you have any idea?
I'm sorry, Rob. Are you asking me? Is that
Yeah,
so
how
hard?
many? Yeah,
Oh,
how many sales have you done in your career?
oh, Jesus.
You don't
J-
even know, right?
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. 600? I really don't know that number.
But I mean, if we should maybe even figure that number out and then think about all the people who you've impacted, right? And in the business, how many people started their career either emulating or getting Gata minutes from you, right? And I know even some of those people left and went on to do their own thing, but you've impacted a lot of people, and so many of us have that same opportunity for impact. And if we focus on the impact and how we change lives instead of interest rates are high, inventory is low, there's the NAR settlement, it's going to change the way that we behave. Okay. And the impact is really what you remember, not necessarily. Like, dollars are fungible, they come and they go, but when
Right.
you change people's lives, that's what really has an impact. So in order to have an impact as a team leader or as an industry participant, we need to have consistency. We need to be able to control our mind and our activities before we can control that of others. And the only way that we can do that is by attacking the process. And I'm going to tell you that I've been searching for ways to try to um, communicate this to the group. And this week I was studying the mortgage industry and watching a lot of mortgage podcasters because I wanted to see how lenders can play a bigger role in our future. And what I mean by a bigger role is, in the past, what did lenders do for us? Anybody want to volunteer? Like, what did a good lender do for you to help you grow your business?
They would show up to an open house, participate, help qualify people, do flyers,
Yep.
talk to, if you had a, deal with multiple offers, they'd call the other agent and qualify, tell them how qualified the, buyer is.
hmm I think those are all things, Scott, that I think were, standards that I was looking for. And also, they'd be good at their craft, right? You'd want to make sure that, if they can qualify for 700, they're not telling you 550, right? And they're not telling you 700 if it's only 550, correct, Scott?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So I want to reimagine that relationship because as I was looking at where the mortgage industry is going, and I was watching a series on YouTube called The Mortgage Coach. A lot of it's, mortgage specific and dry, but a lot of it is sales and partnership relationship based. Um, the best lenders, okay, what they're doing, which I don't know that most of our lenders do. And, when I was a lender, I probably was as guilty of this as well. You pre-qualify somebody, they're touching base with them every week to 10 days. And, they're continuing that relationship. Um, People who are looking into, buying a house, they're not just talking about what you qualify for, but they're talking about, the entire impact on their wealth, the, you know, um, rent to own comparison, right? We should kind of stop doing that, at least from my lens. I haven't seen a lot of people doing that. And they've built out some pretty sophisticated wealth calculators where it can say, hey, in 3 years, if you bought this house and it appreciated at only 2%, you know, you'd get a 52% return on your down payment. Your net worth would grow from 30,000 to 110,000. Like, these are some things I think are pretty impactful when we're facing a consumer and an industry that's a little bit frozen, a little bit of chaos. I mean, Scott, would you think that the industry is in a little bit of chaos at this point?
Chaos. I don't know if I'd use that word chaos, but there's definitely a lot of unknown and uncertainty.
Okay. And I'm going to say that this unknown and uncertainty is going to equate to an opportunity for those who, you know, take the appropriate action. And homeownership is still, you know, one of the greatest ways for people to build wealth, even amongst the, you know, the top 10% people when they retire. Most people have more equity in their real estate than they do in their 401k. They have a higher net worth there. So, you know, we have an obligation to do more than just pre-qualify, open doors, you know, do the traditional things that we do in the industry as agents. And then as team leaders, you know, we have an elevated responsibility because we can impact. There's an exponential factor to that. We can impact our team members' personal lives, wealth, trajectory, and everybody that they deal with. And if the people that your team members are dealing with are getting inferior service to what they'd get from you, we need to up the game. Okay. Some of the things that I took from the lending industry, and some of these were things I've always thought and talked about, but I'm going to reiterate those, is in your in your weekly routine, you know, maybe on Mondays, you know, our whole team and we, you know, we called the open houses and the people that we showed houses to over the weekend just to do a recap. Right? We might assume that, hey, you know, they weren't interested or they're looking at this one. Maybe on Monday we do those calls, and the people who are actively looking that we didn't take out, we reach out to. Tuesdays, you might want to do, you know, a market update, another excuse to reach out to them, saying, hey, in Bridgewater, 11 new houses came on the market, 5 went under contract, 2 were withdrawn, and there's, you know, whatever those statistics are. Doesn't take a whole lot of time, maybe even a CMA a day. Might be something that you want to build into that process. Wednesday, maybe you call, you know, your sphere every Wednesday. And if you're into cold calling, you do some of your cold calling or prospecting there. Thursday, maybe milestones. You know, somebody just had their home inspection and they got it signed off on. Somebody's appraisal came in. You know, you call these people when they hit these milestones. And, you know, Friday might be scheduling for the upcoming week and also calling everybody that closed within the past 30 days or 60 days if you have a routine of doing that. Some of these lenders were doing post-closing calls at, you know, 30, 60 days and then a year. And I don't know if we as an industry or team leaders or team members, you know, have that process so well defined. I mean, does anybody on the call have a process where you call somebody on their 30-day anniversary of closing?
No.
Would that be something that might be of value?
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, you know, can you believe it's already been 30 days? You know, can I be of any help, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
do you know anyone else that I could help? So, what else?
When do they usually call them? After 30 days and when?
So 30, 60, and then they do a 1-year anniversary. I mean, I think definitely 30 days, 60 days is probably the newness is still there, right? there's the opportunity for you to maybe get some extra referral business out of them. But it's also an opportunity to show that you're not just hunting down a commission, right? Because, you know, the public, if they don't hear from you after you close, what do they think? Some might go, I bought a house from you and I don't hear from you after I close. I just think that all you were concerned about was the commission, right?
Yeah, maybe they thought went out of business too.
That's possible as well. And maybe they just thought that's the norm, right? You complete the transaction and that's it, right? Does anybody have an experience with like a luxury car that you bought where there was like service over the top for the salesperson or the service person goes above and beyond?
Not for a car, no.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So I had a new technician. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, Rob, when I bought my truck, I asked the salesperson, I said, hey, what's the tow capacity for this? And she goes, that's page 72, and it's this. She told me the page in the manual. At that point, I knew I was buying the truck from her.
Gotcha. So with my RV, I got a new service technician. They fired the old one, and this person actually was calling to see how everything was after the fact, and I feel like they genuinely care, which a different experience for me. I have a Ford, so I don't expect that level of service for my main vehicle, but if they can do that for a vehicle, why not do it for a house, right? And then, Glenn, it's more than just you doing it or Michael. It's, us impacting our team members to change the way that they look at the process, right? Because the transaction's done for us, but not for them. They're living in the house, right?
Yep.
Another question that I want to put out there for everybody is, with everything going on, are we playing too small? And I don't mean, are we playing, too small with, our budgets? Because obviously we need to pay attention to that, but are we accepting less than we could be and blaming the market or blaming the NAR settlement or blaming the interest rates for that? I think that we also need to maybe use this mindset, which is default aggressive for our business, and looking at ways that we can reimagine it. And this is not I'm going to get more information on this, but this is not a, push Cornerstone first or motto. This is a take care of your client issue. And if we can have all of our lenders adopt a new practice of A, following up, and B, instead of just pre-qualifying, showing them the 3 and 5 year impact on their wealth, because I've never seen that done. And I was blown away by some of these top producing loan originators that are basically having a wealth consultation instead of a mortgage pre-qualification. Does anybody's lender do anything like that, where at the end of their consultation, they walk away with a pretty chart saying in 3 years and 5 years, here's how much my net worth will be from my investment? And Glenn, you work with some pretty high level people. Did you ever see them do that?
Yeah, actually, I was going to point out for everyone that's here, I don't know if anyone's using the Palm Agent one, but it's sponsored by LandQuest, and that does it. So we've been using that, my lender and myself, to present.
Okay. So let's make sure that people understand the impact of buying a house, because it's both shelter and an investment, right? It's a unique space, right? It's not like a vehicle, which the vehicle that you buy, Glenn, that truck you bought, it's only going to go one way, right?
Yep.
It's going to depreciate down. So these are some of the things that I think maybe, we don't think about. Another thing that I want to mention and talked about it a lot is, scripts, role playing, and confidence. Scripts, role playing, and confidence. If we're not doing role playing, we're definitely practicing on our paycheck, and we're leaving money on the table. And when you're running a team, you have no idea what they're saying when you're not there. And if they can't say it in role play, they probably can't say it in reality. And there was a top producing, at one point he was the #1 originator in the country in the past 10 years. I forget the person's name, but he was based out of Ohio. And when he found more and more success, he just found more and more ways to prospect. And he said that there are only two types of there are two types of business that you have. You can do business with the people that you know, and you can do people with the business that you don't know, which is, that cold calling, that scary space that a lot of people find. But there really are only those two avenues. And if you're not actively communicating with the people that you do know, which we all can improve on, the other space is to get more people that you know by making more relationships. And I know that that's incredibly simplistic and stupid, but I just wanted to mention it because it just struck a nerve in my head after listening to hours and hours of another industry and how they're attacking, the business that we're in right now. And I think the lending industry, by context, at its peak was 500,000 people working in the origination side of the lending industry. Anybody want to guess where that is expected to be the end of this year? 100,000. 80% of the people that were from the peak are gone. Now in the real estate, what are we talking about? Maybe half are gone. So the lending industry has it a lot worse because they had all those refis, they bulked up, that went away, and they had a pivot.
Rob, did
Anybody
you
have
say,
anybody
Rob,
have
did,
anything that you
Rob, did you say
Okay.
what percentage of mortgage industry is leaving? What did you say?
So at the refi boom, there was 500,000 people in the mortgage industry on the origination side only. And now it's forecast at the end of this year, there's going to be 100,000. So that's 80% drop in the people on the origination side.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
and so they have it a lot worse than we do because they were doing refis in addition to all that, bumper crop business for everybody buying, right? So their business is completely collapsed, and they're looking for ways to add value. Those 100,000 that are left are looking to find ways where maybe we can impact them by asking them if they can do some things differently that can help the stickiness of our clients and deliver a better experience. If our lenders are staying in touch with everybody that they pre-qualified and then redirecting them to us, is that not a huge value?
Absolutely.
Right,
But
because a lot of times we'll find that they went and they bought with somebody else. Hopefully now with the buyer agreements, it's going to be a lot less. But they should go in and look up all the people that they ran credit reports on, all the pre-quals that they wrote. Contact those people, tell them about what's going on, reintroduce them to us, right? And if your lender has people that they did pre-approvals with who exited the business, say, I want to have those. I want you to refer those people to me, or I want you to refer them to my team.
right.
And there was another thing, and Glenn, I don't know if this can be done on the Palm app, but there was an analysis on trade up, because a lot of people aren't looking to do the trade up at, you know, they're at 3% and they have to trade up to 7.5, right? And there was an example this individual gave about, you know, two individuals getting married. They both had properties. They paid around 200. They went up to 300. You know, their combined housing cost was $3,500. They wanted to buy a place for 700, and the payment was $4,700, $1,200 more. And they're like, you know, we can't afford it. We're not comfortable with that payment. And they actually have a process. And it's not like it. There's a process to share that works, right? And a lot of times, if we just say it's $1,200 more, people are like, no, I can't afford that. But if you actually break it down and talk about, you know, all the attributes of buying, like you're two single people getting married, they want to buy a bigger house, right? Don't you think our industry ought to have a way to communicate the value of buying, and even if it might cost a little bit more, do you accept, you know, a subpar home because interest rates are different? So they built out a process for trade up where they can communicate not only the dollar amount, but what does that additional payment equate to after taxes and everything, and it's not random. And there was, last thing I'm going to say, there was a lender who was calling people who would be like, no, I don't want to go higher than, you know, 850, for example. And when somebody says to you, you know, Glenn, Scott, or so, I don't want to go higher than, I don't want to pay more than 850. Like, what does that mean? You know, maybe it's what they think they're comfortable. Maybe it's just a number that's in their head. But if you talk about like the payment and what the difference is, a lot of times it's not as significant. And it's more of an emotional decision not to go beyond a certain point. And at least for a certain percentage of people, that would be the case, right? And the same is true like a seller. I'm not going to take less than this, or a buyer, I'm not going to pay more than that.
That is true, but also in our market, I feel like I trust what they say, but then we have to go to the bidding war. And at that point, I'd be like, you know, another $20,000 is, you know, it's not that much difference on where you're going, what you're getting. And most importantly, I really believe if this interest rate ever goes down, we are going, you know, prices are just going to go up, but they should buy right now. But I really always leave that up to the mortgage lender to explain those things to them, unless I am in a bidding war come up. Other than that, I respect, you know, kind of trust that they already done their studies and this is really the facts.
Can you close the door, please?
For a property.
But how about, you know, so how about like inspecting to see what they're doing, and maybe even saying like, I'm comfortable enough to, you know, critique the experience to try to make it better, right? Not because you know better, but if you look at what they're presenting to a buyer, and let's just say they're talking shop talk, right?
Right.
And not relatable. Like sometimes in the real estate industry, we'll use terms that LTV, CMA, right? Where people don't understand, you know, what that means.
Right.
Right. So we need to look at it from a layperson's perspective and, you know, figure out if there's anything that we could do to help them deliver a better experience to our clients. All right. And I think, you know, I think now more than ever, you know, it's time to, share best practices, if you have somebody that's working with you and, there's somebody else that's doing something and you have a loyalty, let's try to get their game up a little bit so that we can increase the experience and grow our business and take care of the clients better.
You're
Yeah,
absolutely,
because
it's time
sales
to,
is,
yeah.
you got so
No, I said you're absolutely right. Like, I guess it's time to check in with our lender and make see what is the process they take the client through, because we trust them that they are doing all the, explaining how everything works. But maybe we need to get touch base with that one more time just to remind. I really don't know what they talk about. I just trust that they are giving them all the great
Do
information.
you
So
use the app, the Palm Agent app? They have really, really accurate estimating for the monthly mortgages. I always found that helped me weed out people that weren't serious pretty effectively, because sometimes you'll talk to somebody and they'll say, I want to look at $800,000 homes, and you'll go and they'll say, I'm approved. And you might say, okay, I'll go show you. But I always actually talk to them on that initial phone call. Even I won't tell them that I'm not going to show them. I'll always kind of lead them on and say, yeah, no problem. I'll go show you these houses at the end of this convo. I'll set it up and confirm the appointments. And I'll
Yep.
just say, but let me figure out a little bit more what you're looking at. So I might be able to add on a couple more properties. And then I'll ask them, throw in there, what's the monthly payment you and your family are comfortable with? A lot of times that number is nothing close to what an $800,000 home is right now. So I try to bring that up. If it's like within $500, maybe $1,000, it's not that much of a shock. But sometimes you're a couple thousands off from what they want to pay and what the houses they're trying to look at. I don't know if I'm even talking the right point right now, if I listen to everything carefully, but it's been very valuable for me to bring up the monthly payments to my clients. And also in negotiations,
Right.
once they gain a certain trust in you, you could kind of tell them that a certain home, in the beginning, it's hard because you can't be too negative about it. You can't say, oh, you're not going to qualify for this, you're not going to qualify for this, but kind of just phrase it in a way where it's like, okay, if you want to be around this price truly, then this would be the price range of homes you want to look at. But definitely don't wait for your lender, because you keep going back. If you keep going back and forth to your lender, asking him the monthly payment, you should really know that as a realtor. You could use a ballpark, even interest rate. You don't know exactly what it is. I mean, at least you know it's between 6 and 7. So if you go run a scenario, you ask them what their monthly payment is, what their down payment is, and you should be able to give them within maybe a $400 range of what the payment's going to be on any given property.
So, and Michael, the next level, and you've been doing pretty well with buyers recently, and maybe on one of these or the Friday calls, I'd like you to talk about, our conversation we had about 9 months ago when you kind of pivoted with buyers.
Yeah.
But what I want to add on to that, Michael, is what happens if everybody went away with a chart that's easily understood and said if real estate increases at 2% a year, your net worth will be this in 3 and 5 years. If it increases at 5% a year, your net worth will be this in 3 and 5 years, taking into consideration the amount of amortization of your mortgage and the appreciation that you have, right? Because if you put down 10% on your house and your house increases by 5%, what's the rate of return on your investment?
After
Well,
how?
say it one more time. Let's do this.
If you put down 10% on your house, right? And your house increases by 5%,
Mm-hmm.
what's the rate of return on that 10% down?
50%.
50%.
50%. But buyers don't understand this. I know we do it intellectually. I know maybe intellectually that they might not be able to know that, but if we're not breaking down them, I think we're doing a disservice. And if you have an opportunity to have a 50% return on your investment, and maybe it costs you $800 more a month, but then you also have a tax benefit of that. You know, some will, some won't. So what? But if we don't educate them, none will, right? Everybody's going to be afraid. So that's what I'm talking about with up in the experience. And you know, my entire flight down while I was driving yesterday, going to open houses, I was playing some of these podcasts in my ear, and I'm going to drive some more information back to deliver a better experience, but not just to team leaders, but I want that to go to your team members and our partners, our lending partners, to provide a better experience, better stickiness, close more business, deliver a better experience, have a higher net promoter score from our clients. Even if we don't take that, we don't go to the level of running a promoter score, you know that they're going to be putting us in a different level because nobody's doing that. All right.
That's a really good point with the gains.
Yeah.
Gains in ROI.
It's
So-
it's great. I like that.
So I'm obsessed with making everybody better, and I appreciate everybody hopping on here, and I'm going to share that information with you by next week or sooner, and then you can just take it back to your lenders. If I have it in an easy format to rip off and duplicate, be my guest. Share it with your lenders. Let's educate our consumers so that we can do better. And it's not trying to sell them; it's just educating them.
$50,000.
So sorry, I have to jump on another call, guys.
All right, you got it. Well, we're wrapped up now anyway. But thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
guys. Bye.
everybody.
Home, are they looking in the Heights? Because you can find some new construction there, depending on how big they want.